And that's what a breakdown virtually is. It's when stress has gone level after level after level, then it's exploded. But we don't really like to talk about breakdowns because no one wants to break. Just like no one wants to break up. We don't really want to have a breakup in a relationship. We don't want to break up with our mind and body either. So we don't talk about it. We keep it quiet. We pretend.
Welcome to another podcast with me, Eghosa Oriaikhi, the founder of SeeMe. SeeMe is a platform designed for ambitious women who want to achieve their full potential. What do I mean when I say all of that? It means we want to be there for you, whether you're in business or you're in corporate industry, and we want to offer you community, mentoring support, but we are really concerned about your whole self. Everything from where you are mentally, physically, financially, emotionally. And on that note, I would love to welcome my guest, Aisha Carrington.
So good to be here.
Thank you very much, Aisha. Now, Aisha is here today with me because Aisha is an intuitive consultant, which I like to say in simple terms, a spiritual healer. Okay, so today is all about the spiritual side of female well-being. And we've decided to title the podcast, Powerful Women and Mental Breakdowns. That's a big title. We'll come to what we mean about mental breakdowns. But before we get into all of that, I want to understand, what does an intuitive consultant mean? What does an intuitive consultant do?
Well, like you said, it much is like a spiritual coach.
Okay.
But coach is a term that's very wide.
Yeah.
Whereas I consult people with my intuition on their life through various aspects of their life.
Okay.
I like to call it a bit like we was thinking earlier, how do you call it? And it is a bit like that friend you always want, but that can actually impart wisdom and help you in different areas. So an intuitive consultant, I help many different women, from mothers to people in business to influencers and any entrepreneurship in all of its forms, but not even so much. Sometimes on the business side, through my intuition, I do guide them.
Okay.
I also just help them be their best selves, like you said about SeeMe.
Yes.
Their higher self.
Yes, absolutely. And how people and women find their purpose. Do you guide them on finding purpose? And what is purpose actually?
What is purpose? Purpose, again, it's like one of those words I like to say, a bit like self-care and like wellness. It's such a big word. Right. But for me, purpose is that spark inside. So you can find it in many different areas of your life.
Sure.
But because work is most of our life every single day, it's like people like to find their purpose there. So I do help them center back to what's important to them, which will help them find their purpose.
Okay, great. So we've given our listeners and viewers a little bit of an introduction on what we're here to talk about today, which is the spiritual side, spiritual mentoring, spiritual coaching. And someone who does that full-time like you is here to guide us in understanding how to use it, what to get out of it, what are the tools actually, if you've never done it before, what impact does it really have on your life? But before we get into that, I would love to know who Aisha Carrington is. Now, I know how I met you, and if you don't mind me sharing.
Of course.
My second daughter will be 3 in another 3 or 4 weeks, and I had just given birth. I had decided to leave a very powerful job at that time to focus on being a mother and rethink my career. And let's just say that anyone who's had a baby understands what comes with having a child, that postnatal journey, the 4th trimester, so to speak. It comes with all its highs and all its lows. And you couple that with making a move from South Africa back to London, leaving a very big job, questioning my purpose. And I remember sharing with you before we came on the podcast that everything in my life seemed noisy. People will say, go work out, when you're in great shape, everything is great. Meditate or go do yoga or call a friend. It all seemed to require me to do something. And I remember just getting to a point where I thought, I need to figure out a lot that's happening in my life and find myself and find what the next phase of my life is supposed to look like. But I was just looking for peace, really, more than anything. And I found you in London, and I found this article written about you that called you a modern day witch and said that you did all this healing and you guided women spiritually. And you had this retreat coming up in Morocco with some very lovely women. I thought, I want to join that. And who is this lady? And that's how we met. So who is Aisha Carrington?
So like you say, when I say modern day witch, for me, this is exactly how I'm dressed today. We know witches to wear hats and to do funny little stories and potions and to wave their hands. Like when you were talking, I remembered when you came to the studio where I was leading meditations. I remember at one point I touched your shoulders, or I just touched you, and that was what set off a lot of emotion to fall and for us to start to talk about different conversations that weave through your life. So again, witches do funny things, like they just touch you and these things happen. So modern day witch for me is to let go of all of the stigma that comes with being witches, and it's just a healer that helps in all different ways.
I love it. So you're a healer, basically. You're someone who wants to guide women spiritually.
Yes.
Because when we tell women to be good mothers, good friends, good sisters, there are all these memes on Instagram about how can I do all of this and still wake up looking perfect the next day, pack the kids' lunch, get them to school on time, get them to practice, be the best at work, climb the corporate ladder, achieve this, have so many followers on Instagram if I'm an influencer. The world somehow expects women to be perfect. Hence our conversation today, mental breakdown. Is it all too much?
When you list it, it is all too much. And it only, as you're listing it, it only happens on Instagram. All that tick list is what we see on Instagram, which is virtually a film, an advert of someone's life, a little snippet of what we think's good. I don't know if you've seen, it's like one of those people that carry the tripod around and be like, this is what really happened before they closed the door and walked out of it.
Yeah, exactly.
So the breakdown comes from pretending that all of that is a thing and having to actually break up with the fact that that's not what it is. It's a powerful, powerful title.
Okay. So tell me a bit about your business and what is it you actually do? Explain it in simple terms so I can understand.
Okay, explain it in the most simplest terms. Someone will come to me and they will tell me how they're feeling.
Okay.
And then from that, I will put together a program or device using all the different tools I use. So for some people, they will be like, a sound bath, not understanding what a sound bath does, which generally just relaxes you. So I have segments where people can just come to pause, and I might do a sound bath or an energy healing, which is like energetic Reiki on their body. But all these terms can sometimes throw people off, which is why I like why you say bring it back down to its most simplest term. It's giving you the most healthiest pill in my holistic way for what you need at that time, and giving you a program that will help you roll that through and just keeping that person accountable. Generally, it can go from life coaching to holistic practices, and holistic practices can be very many modalities.
Okay. Just so I can understand, I'm someone who's new to this concept of keeping my spiritual self whole, having balance and peace. Because life always is lifing, as we know. I always call my friend Pat and I say, Pat, how are you doing? And Pat will say, Eghosa, life is lifing.
I love it.
I love it because it's better than saying I'm okay, because sometimes we're not okay. And I'm not trying to talk about being depressed. I mean, like sometimes I can have a fantastic day, but there's always something niggling somewhere, right? I want to talk about something. I like to get something off my chest, or I need advice, or I need clarity. Life is always lifing. And sometimes it's pretty serious. Sometimes it's serious enough, but not serious enough to where I'm depressed, right? So I guess the point is, in SeeMe, we're passionate about helping determined, ambitious, powerful women, all women in fact, say everybody has a purpose. Everybody wants to achieve that purpose, right? Get to their best self. And your best self, as far as we're concerned in SeeMe, is not just getting that next promotion or making the next, influencer, big money or whatever that is. It's making sure you're in balance and that you're at peace with yourself as you move up and up and up and achieve this sort of high being, right? And achieve your sense of purpose. So on the note of coming to spiritual well-being, because we talked about mental breakdown, we said, is it too much? What are the tools? Like, what are the things people do to keep themselves spiritually whole? What do you do, actually? Like, how do you do it?
Yeah. So on the most basic level, you could do something like a meditation. And the way I guide meditations is putting on some music, allowing my voice to soothe that person and put them into a nice, restful space, just so you can lie down and create some stillness. And then there's what I do as a sound bath. And a sound bath is taking crystal bowls and just gently playing them and allowing the vibration of the bowls to be what really relaxes them. Because we're made up of 70% of water. The vibrations of the bowls really help you to really relax.
Okay.
So there's that. And then there is working with me one-to-one, where we have a program that is completely tailored to you and your needs. And then there's a one-to-one retreat. So with retreats, it's really, people have retreats and they think of spiritual retreats in Bali and India. And they're really, wow, what's that? And what do I need to be doing?
Shave your legs for a couple of weeks and chant all kinds of things. Yeah.
And I wanted to bring retreats back down to the level of what is it that you need? Maybe you need a sleep retreat. So if you work one-to-one with me, we'll just devise a plan where you have a sleep retreat. Maybe it's that you want to feel more happier and uplifting. We might create a retreat that works around dancing and movement and allowing you to uplift your vibes. Or there might be a retreat where you just want some downtime. And we'll just schedule that around you so that you have different practices. Maybe you have a yoga teacher where you stretch in the morning, chill in the evening, but someone's keeping you accountable to facilitate that. And a one-to-one retreat works great if you don't want to have lots of people around you. But if you want to find community and friends, then a group retreat is a perfect place to be. And again, we'll do a mixture of the things that we do in a one-to-one retreat, but as a group of people, we'll have lots of talks. You'll have someone to speak to about the things that you might feel. And that just feels like a really comforting environment for people. And in those retreats, we do lots of things, from tea ceremonies where we drink cacao and things like that. And cacao is really good as we all love hot chocolate, but it's like a spiritual kind of hot chocolate that allows you to really get into your heart space.
Oh, wow. Okay. All right. And do you talk to your clients about what they're trying to heal or fix before this so that it's more targeted?
So we'll have a one-to-one conversation before that, even if you're on a group retreat, so that you and I can both understand what is it you want to get out of it, because otherwise it can feel like such a grand thing, or you might have expectations that aren't met. So it's really good to express to anyone, whether it be me or whoever you're having a retreat or a therapeutic session in, what actually is that you want.
The Nigerian in me wants to say, how much does all this cost? Because I don't know if everybody can afford this, right? This sounds like it's for like people who want to pay all kinds of money. What does a simple SeeMe person need to do? Okay, I'm very busy. I don't have time. This sounds like a big luxury. How do I afford this, and how do I make the time?
So if someone's really, really busy, I'd like them to come really back down to basics. Start with a meditation or some breath work, just so that you can get your mind into a still place for clarity. That's the most soothing thing to do before we unravel anything else. And then once you can see the benefit of that, and mostly you'll feel it in your body because the stress level will come down.
Right.
And the prices range from very low to, because it's something that you're doing maybe because you're doing it on an app or you're doing it pre-recorded, to working with someone on a different level. So I like to make it affordable for each person.
Okay, so it's not only for special people, huh? Okay.
No.
Don't make it sound like, we can't come near you. No, but it's true though. I think I like what you said, because we're saying powerful women, mental breakdowns, okay? Because on a daily basis, there's always a moment where I think, one more question, one more thing. I'm not sure if I can keep pushing, right? Because look, maybe I didn't feel that way in my 30s. All I had was Eghosa the person, Eghosa the career woman, Eghosa social life, right? Sister, friend, all of that. Godmother to like 7 different kids. I love my godchildren. But now there's Eghosa the mother, right? On top of that. And there's Eghosa mid-40s, other things are happening. Life is lifing.
Life is lifing.
So stress is always there. No matter what age you are, stress is there. And the point of helping you be your whole self is, we want to help you make money and get promoted. We also want to make sure that you're in balance and you're not stressed. Hence this podcast. Powerful Women, Mental Breakdown. What is a mental breakdown? Is there still stigma around mental breakdowns? Do we even talk about mental breakdowns these days as women?
We don't talk about mental breakdowns.
We just call our friends and just rant. So I do to my sisters.
Yeah. We might assess it when you get off the phone. She's having a breakdown.
Yeah.
But we don't call it a breakdown because breakdown has stigma with it.
Right.
It's like, it's so easy now to talk about, I'm really stressed. I had a really stressful day.
Yes.
As what happens with stress builds up and then we explode.
Yes.
And it's really big. And that's what a breakdown virtually is. It's when stress has gone level after level after level, then it's exploded. But we don't really like to talk about breakdowns because it's not something, no one wants to break.
Yes.
Just like no one wants to break up.
I love that, Aisha. Yes.
We don't really want to have a breakup in a relationship. We don't want to break up with our mind and body either. So we don't talk about it. We keep it quiet. We pretend. And the more we do that, breakdowns are more easy to come.
Is that because girls are raised to be perfect, do you think?
We are raised to be perfect.
Yeah.
We're raised to just fit in this box that none of us know what that box was.
Yes. I'm not even sure what I'm supposed to be keeping up with anymore. I'm just redefining my own reality. But no, I think I like the point you're saying is stress causes a break, a separation from our real self. If I find that I've raised my voice or I've lost my temper, in that moment, as far as I'm concerned, I've had a break. Okay, if I'm supposed to be doing something, but I'm now so overwhelmed that I can't do it because I feel so overloaded, in that moment, as far as I'm concerned, there's a break. Okay, so this concept of keeping stress in balance and making sure that there's peace, but also downtime to think, downtime to rejuvenate and to heal. Since I met you 3 years ago, one of the most important parts of except for going to work out and run, it's one of the most important parts of my well-being. So let's just talk about how else, because sometimes they're mental health issues, which we cannot help. Sometimes they're childhood traumas. They're some real underlying problems going on, okay, that need to be solved. And I want to come to the fact of what's the difference between you and a therapist, okay? But on this case of stress and this case of breaking, what we're trying to help our members understand is we all break. There are opportunities every day for us to break, but how do we help you not get there? And what do you need to incorporate into your life on a practical level to not get to that breaking point? And if you do, how to cope with it and how to bounce back from it.
I like the way you describe that, because when we describe it as if you had a piece of string that you were pulling at and pulling at, which is virtually what we're doing when we're being pulled from lots of directions, it breaks.
Yes.
And we don't look at that as a bad thing.
Yeah.
So it's being kind and gentle to ourselves when we think of breaking in any other points. So coming back to it, it's noticing what rather than just going so fast, because we all pelt so fast forward.
Yes.
That we're not noticing when we actually need to stop at that end of the road. So if we were going for a run, we're not just going to run through traffic, run through all the obstacles. But that's what we're doing when we're burning out. When you're burning out, you're just going running at everything. You're running at the traffic, you're running at the people in the road, and you're just not stopping.
Yeah. It's not your higher self, is it?
It's not your highest self. It's not your best self. It's not what you'd want for yourself if you put things in place.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because really, life is like an obstacle course, isn't it? We're just trying to get around each thing.
Interesting. We only have a short amount of time, finally, when we look back on life. And it's just to be enjoyed. It's to be lived. The journey is to be enjoyed. And for me, helping women understand how to remove stress from their lives is helping them work more enjoyment into their lives. And that's what I really hope SeeMe is different as an organization, that we talk about this stuff and we put practical things in place. Are you a therapist? And why shouldn't I just go to a therapist? Why come to you, a spiritual healer or a holistic healer? Why you?
Let's say, first and foremost, you should go to a therapist.
Okay.
Because we are very different.
Right.
And we help you with different things.
Okay.
So, for example, a therapist will be someone who you can talk to. There's very many different therapies that can help with what's going on in your body and the stress levels. So most of my clients, I like to find out first if they need therapy.
Okay.
Or if they've had therapy. I work great alongside a therapist.
Okay.
Depending on what you want. If you just want something like a meditation, then you don't need therapy for that, because you don't actually want to do anything. But like we said, lie still and chill out. So the difference between me and a therapist is that I will help with more of your holistic body.
Okay.
A bit like what's the difference between a therapist and a PT is they do different things.
Okay.
They work different parts of your body, but you need both maybe.
Okay.
So yeah, I will work with the holistic body. I'll work with your mind, your soul, how you feel and think about yourself. Where a therapist might try and divulge what's going on and then help with that.
That's a good one, actually. Therapists psychiatrists, I guess, can also prescribe medicine. You don't prescribe medicine, do you?
I don't prescribe medicine.
Okay.
No.
You don't prescribe any medicine. Okay. All right, no, that's fair enough. I think it's good for us to understand that distinction. But again, this all sounds very privileged, right? Because now people say, it's almost like bragging rights. I go to therapy. I have a therapist, right? I hope at some point we start saying my spiritual healer
I'd love that.
as bragging rights. But therapy for some people is paid for by insurance. It's, again, a very privileged thing to be doing. It's not cheap, okay?
It's not cheap.
It's really not cheap. And when you say I work alongside therapists and we're not one and the same, but we're quite similar, it again comes down to this feeling that this is this very selective, privileged people thing to be doing. First world problems. Are these first world problems, Aisha? Talking about spiritual healing?
No, They're not.
Really?
But what is funny is that I think everything is a privilege, really.
Okay.
You know, when we go shopping, we buy a new bag, it's a privilege. When we decide to go, what kind of gym do we want? Are we going to go to the spa? We're going to book a massage. These are all privileges, but that we actually do need if you can and can't afford it. So I think there is a privilege in a sense of you should be giving this back to yourself in some form.
Okay. I want to understand what type of women you work with, okay? Because I'm here talking about powerful women, ambitious women, determined women, driven women. We want to help you achieve your full potential, okay? That's an audience.
Yeah.
Do you work with stay-at-home moms? Do you work with career women? Tell me who you work with.
Yeah, I do work with, as I said, career women, entrepreneurs, stay-at-home mum, women that mostly it's a woman of any degree that just wants to take care of themselves.
Okay.
So just like every single woman wants to go to the gym, they can come to me and I'll help with what they need and where they're at that time.
Okay. At what stage do they come to you? What's the common theme you find when your clients reach out to you?
When they're feeling a bit lost.
Okay.
Because even when you create some stillness, unless it's an everyday practice out of consistency, a bit like brushing your teeth, unless you choose to, you know, like some people that believe in religion, they want to pray every day.
Okay.
So unless you meditate every day like that, most people come to me because they're not feeling right. So they want to feel a certain way, whether it's self-love, whether they've lost confidence in themselves, they've just had a baby, they're pivoting jobs at work, they were at what they thought was the highest level they wanted to, but they want to get to that next level.
Okay.
And they need that change, that confidence boost, because as women we do change. Wish we didn't, but we change in every aspect of life. Until you have a baby, you don't realise that you're never that woman again.
Yes.
And I feel like that's in every area of life, but that's the one place we actually see it in motherhood.
Yes, absolutely. But also, we move countries, we gain relationships, we lose relationships, we lose loved ones, we lose friends, we get ghosted. I was talking to my friend about ghosting the other day. What a horrible thing to do to another human being, to just not show up and explain what exactly has happened. Anyway, that's probably for another podcast. But
you know, people will come to me because they got ghosted.
Yes.
It hurts your confidence.
It hurts your confidence, absolutely. Or you thought you were going to get promoted, you didn't, or you lost your job, or you thought you were going to be, you know, doing this particular thing and it hasn't panned out, or you thought the guy loved you, or the girl loved you and that didn't pan out. Like, there are all these pivot points in life. And look, we talked about before the podcast, but Aisha, I could just call my sister. I could just call my friend. Why do I have to call you?
You could call them, but what happens is each friend, we were talking about this, each friend has a different role in their life. I like to think a bit like Sex and the City.
Okay.
So you've got the Samantha who's like, she's the party girl.
Right.
If you want to go find a new guy, you go out with her.
Yeah.
You've got Miranda who's the serious one. You want to have a talk about business, work, anything to do with like a lawyer.
Yeah.
You talk to Samantha,
Right.
Miranda rather.
Yeah.
And then you've got Charlotte. She's like really down. She's more calm. She'll talk to you to soothe you, to make you remember who you actually are. And you want to go shopping, you've got Carrie. So we have friends to do all of that.
Right.
But most of those friends are not healers. They're not therapists.
Right.
So as I described each friend and each dilemma you go with, they're not really going to hold that safe space for you. And sometimes you want to tell somebody something that isn't thrown back at you, that you're not judged for.
Okay.
And that's not to discredit anyone's friends. We're all human.
Right.
You don't really want her to go and tell one of your mutual friends.
Yes.
Because you had that conversation together, which is normal. If she's worried about you, she might go and tell someone else.
That's true.
But people often can't hold space. They too have busy lives.
Yes.
Life is lifing for everyone.
For everybody. Yeah, thank you, Pat, for Life is Lifing. Yeah.
Life is lifing for everyone.
For everyone, yeah. On Instagram, there's the thing about, I call my mom and she didn't answer the phone. What else is my mom doing except she can't talk to me? But it's so true. Even our parents are busy. Or I call my friends and they're like, sorry, I have to call you back at a meeting. I'm thinking, answer the phone, I'm having a crisis. It's true, right? But, you know, look, again, there's a thought process I have that my friends are available. Can I call you 24/7, Aisha?
No.
Okay.
You can't call me 24/7. But so this is also why it's good to work with me, because we learn self-soothing practices, ways to think about things. However you can, when you work with me at a different level, you will be able to text me and we'll get back to you. We do have a relationship where you can lean on me when you need to outside of our sessions.
Okay.
But definitely it's about learning those practices where you can self-soothe and down-regulate and allow yourself to deal with some of the emotions that we just sometimes want to get out and talk to someone about. Until it's safe to let someone do that.
That's a good one. Capacity is another one I found. I also, nowadays, when I call my friends or my family, I'll say, do you have space for this? Or do you have the emotional capacity? Because you're assuming that they're fine for you to offload. It's not true. They're probably having a pretty tough time also, or they could be triggered by the topic.
Triggered.
I remember when I was going through like some massive relationship problems, my therapist said to me, so again, privilege, right? She said, look, you're going to have 3 types of friends. You'll have the friends whose marriages are also bad, and because of shame, they haven't told anybody. So when you're sharing your story, you're triggering them, okay? Because they're living in shame and they're hiding. Then you're going to have the toxic positivity. Oh, come on, get over yourself. Look how lucky you are. And they think that they're helping you, but actually what they've done is diminish you and brush you off. And that makes it worse, okay? And then you have the ones who get the match, let's burn the bridge. Let's go get the MF and burn this whole place down. Now, while that's constructive and helps your ego, it probably doesn't give you practical tools as to what to do next to solve the problem at hand, okay? And then you may have the measured friend. But as you said, it's about having the tools and the expertise to deal with the topic. And let's be honest, I don't think any of my friends went to marriage counseling school, okay? So while they're my friends and they want to be there for me and they all mean me well in all these different ways, in the end, I needed real professional help to help me figure out what was happening and how to resolve, personal relationship issues. And so I just want to just come to that, right? About this thing about capacity. And us talking about, why can't I just call my sister? Why call you? Why reach out to a meditation class? Or why not go to the gym to box, a boxing bag?
The gym is great. But the gym can also be a lonely place. Remember we spoke about that. Sometimes you go to the gym and it's great. It's great going out and running is one place, but the gym where you can't go, imagine you wouldn't even have a cry. You can't do that at the gym, really. What we're doing is we're fighting against some of the emotional capacity that you can't fill anymore.
Right.
You're overflowing with it. So the gym is great. There's definitely a use for the gym. There's a use for any physical activity. But this isn't physical. This is mental. This is in your body. And you need someone to help with that.
Mental and spiritual. One of the things I love that you made me do was journal. I found writing things down, putting it on paper. First, taking the time to get a pen and a paper, writing and committing my thoughts to paper. That was also very, very soothing. And that's also become a massive practice of mine, journaling. You've given me a couple of books to read. You've recommended a couple of books for me to read that have action points, because I'm an engineer. I love action points. I love homework. I love to be checked on my homework and pass my exams. But no, really, let's talk about this concept of these other tools, right? So for example, we're saying, okay, you can journal, you can read a book, but on a very serious note, I'm laughing, but I'm an engineer. I want to know that what I'm doing is working. All this hokey pokey stuff, is it really working? How do I know I'm getting results? I go to the gym. I ran yesterday, by the way, and we went to a boxing class. I stepped on the scale this morning. Have I lost 2 pounds?
Had you lost 2 pounds?
No, of course not. No, but I'm going to come to spiritual healing. Am I healed? How do I know? No, really, how do I know I'm getting better? How do I track this stuff?
So it's funny you say that, because you might not have lost the pounds, but you felt it in your body. So you did feel it. You felt maybe a bit achy.
My muscles were just sore. That's all I know.
Okay. So how can you track it? It's something that's so linear that sometimes you can track it. Sometimes people see it before you do. Sometimes you're glowing, because when you're heavy and you're at capacity, our skin breaks out, we get colds, we feel sick.
Yes.
And sometimes you don't know, but these are all signs also
of stress.
Wow. Stress happens in different ways. You notice you're starting to eat more, but we don't like to track stress.
Yeah, exactly. But the second we go for one sound bath, like, am I better?
Exactly. So it's making sure you're consistent. Because if we don't go to the gym, we don't see the results.
Right.
And while we might see the results and how our body changes, most if you don't take pictures, you're not seeing results either.
Okay.
If we just look in the mirror, we can't always see what we actually started at. So it's having someone accountable, someone to remind you, look at how you responded to that. Someone spoke to you at work and you didn't respond from your triggered point of view.
Wow.
It's noticing when you come back and speak to somebody, okay, so you're not feeling as stressed as normal. You know, your breathing has changed. You're not rushing through your day.
Right.
So it's finding the things that actually make you feel so much more safer and stress-free. We're never stress-free, but it's brought your stress down to notice rather than actually noticing, oh, okay, I can do that. I can tick it off. It's not something you can actually tick off unless you've really been consistent for a long period of time.
This is tell to tick off something. But I think that's where journaling and having workbooks is very good. But I think what you're saying is actually very valid because, you know, the results of seeing behavioral change or mindset shifts. There's one that always comes up when I'm mentoring young women or, you know, I would say peers, right, who are going for that big role, or in my case, I left corporate to start my own company, or going for a board position, or, you know, a young girl who's trying to move up in some level, or someone trying to get married or figure out why she hasn't found a boyfriend, whatever I'm mentoring someone on. And ultimately, because of this issue of young girls, women wanting to be perfect, the voice, the self-critic voice I find is so high because we're seeking this perfectionist state. And what I found going through more of mindfulness, spiritual healing, all this thoughtfulness, is how much grace I show myself now. You're worthy. You are enough. It is okay to not get everything perfect. You will try again next time. It's what I say to my kids, right? As you said to me, say what you say to them to yourself. I was like, I hadn't thought about that one before. But the point is that stillness creates some level of, I don't know if you want to call it satisfaction or being okay with myself and not feeling like I have to constantly chase something. And so for me, what I've learned is how do I know if it's working? That was one of the biggest changes I saw.
Clarity and contentment.
I love Aisha, I'm so glad you're here. Contentment. Being at peace with myself. I always felt very like I was going somewhere always. I don't think I ever felt like I was sitting still or really taking anything in or enjoying anything. Because the world pushes you to achieve. Show that you're achieving. You're doing something. Post. Oh, show us that you're having fun. Oh, you traveled. You're on next holiday. No,
tick.
Yes, absolutely. And just come into a place of contentment. And contentment brought clarity. Clarity brought peace. Peace brought just mindful decisions. Saying, this is not for me. This doesn't serve me right now. That phase has passed. I'm okay to move on from that. I'm now okay to move into this next phase. And then I'll get this, it still happens. This is not to say that doesn't happen, by the way, right? Are you saying that we're suddenly fixed?
No. So it's like for example, I have people that they can't sit at home. They have to have a friend round, a bottle of wine out. There's so many different things that they need to distract their mind from stopping.
Wow.
So sometimes they notice, I didn't have to be pottering around the kitchen. I didn't have to wash up. I can leave the washing up and still have a clear mind that I don't have to be busy all the time.
Right.
So it's those little nuggets that they're noticing. Or noticing, like we spoke about earlier, but your period flow. We're all so different. And we don't even sometimes take into consideration our period.
Right.
How our body reacts, what we need to do, how we need to be more gentle during those periods. So it's like reminding my clients of that. You know, sometimes we'll all be heightened and we don't know things. We have less patience and all this stuff. And it's sometimes, are you due on? And that's not in a way like when a man says it to you and he's
PMS.
No, it's like, be gentle with your body. Yes. This is the time for you to slow down.
Right.
It's like when people are pregnant, you think you can stop, you can see, but sometimes there's a lot going on in your body just due to your cycle that you also need to soothe and calm down. But because we're so busy and we're women, we're supposed to be able to do everything, supposed to keep moving.
Right.
Who would think to take a bit of a day off because you're on your period? That's a privilege, people would think.
Let me champion the older women because I'm now crossing the other half of 40. You're perimenopausal, for example. You're experiencing hot flashes, your body temperature, your hormones are doing something different that they didn't do, as you said, in period flow. We're now in a whole different flow, right? And, one of the greatest things about being at peace with myself, or at least more at peace with myself, I wouldn't say there's an ultimate state. I think it's a constantly evolving state, right?
Definitely.
Is realizing as I showed myself more grace that my friends need more grace, my sisters need more grace. And with that gentleness came a new level of openness and vulnerability. And it's amazing how much support and resourcefulness comes when you can open up. For example, last weekend we were out and for no reason but just seeking support, I said, hey, I said to my friend Star, I'm like, do you ever get where you just get very hot at night and you're just sweating? And I called my sister and she goes, have you checked if you're experiencing menopause? I'm like, what is that? She's like, you haven't thought about it? I'm like, no. She's like, you're 45. You should start thinking about these things. And then yesterday she sent me all these resources. She sent me a GP she thought I should go see. She sent me some gels I should take, some vitamins I should take. And I thought in that one moment of not carrying any shame or any stigma and showing myself grace, but knowing that I've now chosen friends who will show me grace, I shared something I thought was nothing. And I've received so much back in terms of support. And starting to understand an issue that I didn't understand. Didn't even think I thought to research it, if that made any sense, right? And so looking after yourself doesn't have to be actively going somewhere. But what I'm sharing is by doing these practices over the last 3 years, I'm seeing that I'm changing, but it's changing even things in terms of how I choose my friends and how I show up.
Yeah.
How I show up with my friends. As we always say, how do you show up in this issue? What about this is how you showed up versus how you didn't show up.
And because you talk and you're so vulnerable to people in these sessions, it allows you to be softer, allows you to not feel like you have to present this image that you're not. So you can just talk about, this is what's happening. And then people then want to meet you where you're at.
I love that because we said there almost seems to be a connotation that ambitious, powerful, driven women have to be masculine.
Yeah, they don't want to be so much. And this is what this work does. It makes you be soft. And when you're soft, you're in your feminine. And you can balance them too, just like everything else has to balance.
Right.
In some aspects, you will have to bring your masculine forward, but you also know when to step back.
Right.
I want to deliver it this way with my feminine. I want to deliver it from my heart.
Because when I'm going to work, I have to take my machine gun, and, my tools to fight a war. I'm going to oil and gas, man. They're all men. And I have to show up ready to go to war.
Yeah, you're not going with your heart.
No, I'm not going no, not at all. I'm going with my head and all my logic, right? And all my intellect. But no, you're right. I think sometimes because of the way the world pushes us to show up masculine, we don't have enough avenues where we can be feminine and connect with our vulnerable selves.
So can you imagine what it'd be like if you never kept in touch with this place that you're now having of grace, and all you were doing was going to war every day?
Absolutely.
Could you imagine how you would show up to your friends? This is why having a wellness practice and having different avenues you can touch on wellness to really uplift you, because otherwise you're going to war every day, whether it's with the kids, if it's your partner, it's in the office, you're going to war.
Yeah. We should put the soundtrack. Yo, go on, make me lose my mind. That's what we should do right now. Yeah, no, but it is seriously, right? It's like you constantly feel like you're just going at life, right? Wow, that's amazing. Interesting. Okay. So look, in the end, is it hokey pokey or it's not hokey pokey?
It's definitely not hokey pokey. It literally is something to feed you. For me, I say, if you're not doing one of these practices at some point in your life where you're not stilling your mind, for me, it's literally like not washing.
Okay.
After a while, you're going to smell. And that smelling can come out in a burnout. It can be a breakdown. It can be you snapping at people not wanting to be around you. Friends not inviting you out anymore because you're always so miserable, or you're actually vomiting on them with all your feelings and your anger. So for me, I feel like if it is something so small, like you're opening an app and you're meditating, this is all just cleansing and washing away some of that stress, taking a layer of it off so that virtually you're not smelling.
It's my daughter's book, The Dog Needs a Bath. And the dog says, I don't need a bath. Here you haven't bathed on months. You stink. No, but I do want to come back to what you just said just now, where you said it has to be something that you're doing consistently, or you show up in this not ideal way. As we talk about being ideal, as we talk about showing ourselves grace, can we just take one step back and talk about mental health, real mental health, depression, anxiety? Because sometimes you can't meditate your way out of that. There's some, and the underlying traumas. What do you do when you come across clients?
So I'm glad you brought this up, because there's so many different avenues that happens within our life, and we have to touch on those too, whether you're right, it's grief, it's a breakup. You can't just meditate your way through a breakup. Through having a family which you want, but they're not there for you.
Or you have a diagnosable mental illness.
Again, I always say with a mental illness, you do need help. You need a therapy, you need a doctor, you need somebody. But also, I found myself when I've been going through times of depression, meditation actually was my medicine.
Sure.
So I do feel like it was a very big tool that did help me get out of it, because it's a lot to do with the mind, and it's just soothing the mind. So I think there's so many different ways, but it's being kind to yourself. So many times when we're grieving, we don't allow ourselves to grieve.
Right.
When we do grieve, it hurts, it's painful. You feel like you're breaking down because you can't stop. You're emotional, you're crying, you're angry. But it's allowing those feelings to be, and having someone to support you in that way. Having someone that you trust to support you and love you through it.
I was talking to two of my very good friends who are actually godmothers to my second daughter. And we had this chat about Black women, powerful women, and medication. And apparently there was this study that came out that said that there's still a lot of stigma to women reaching out to their doctors to actually use medication to transition through some of these very stressful, difficult periods, whether it's high anxiety or depression. What are your thoughts around this concept on stigma, whether it's medicine or mental health? And I'm talking about diagnosable mental health issues, and things that need to be treated, medically with professionals. What's your experience with where we are as a generation, as a society, with stigmas?
So with some of my clients and with stigmas in general, I always say sometimes you need help. You need a helping hand.
They listen when you tell them?
So people sometimes see medication for whatever you think. They think, because before the stigma was that you get on it and you can't get off of it.
Yes.
So it's also having that safe space to know you can. Sometimes you just need a helping hand. You just need a touch point, because otherwise you don't know what's going to happen. So you need to take care of yourself, and actually stopping and being like, okay, this isn't what I thought I'd be at.
Okay.
But, I'm going to do this. I'm going to take care of myself. But again, having safe people and safe places to talk about, bring that stigma down, because the stigma is so large.
Yes.
I think we spoke about it before when we were having a conversation about our podcast. And it's like people can talk about stress and anxiety, but they can't really talk about depression and mental breakdowns.
Yeah.
Because, stress and anxiety, men are allowed to feel that.
Yes.
People feel that, and no one thinks being busy is wrong. Being busy needs to be really cool.
Yes, absolutely.
I'm really busy. I'm so busy. It means you're booked and busy.
Yeah.
But sometimes busy means that you're never stopping. So there's a lot of stigma around mental health, but it's just allowing ourselves to have these conversations, because we all do. Many people have breakdowns in different forms. We all have a breakdown in different form, whether we're pivoting and we're scared. Yes, a huge mental breakdown when you have to go to the doctors is not to be comparable to when people think they have anxiety, but it's just talking about it. The stigma stays there because we don't talk about it.
Let's now talk about the blossoming, the re-emergence after a situational or a period of snapping, breaking. What happens? How do we re-emerge? What's the new flower that comes out of it?
It's when you start to look at yourself differently. You start to feel happier. You've got a bit of a spring in your step. And that's what happens when you do any of these practices that take care of yourself.
Okay.
When you start to emerge and you start to flower and you start to look at yourself differently, you want to get a haircut, you want to get a stylist, or you just want to go shopping to do something that you haven't put on, something you haven't done, wear a colour you haven't worn. There's all these different types of ways to flower, but they happen when you start to see yourself.
So I also know you do image consulting. You help women change their style, their image. You help dress them up. Why is that important? And at what phase in the journey does it happen?
So it mostly happens when people are pivoting.
Okay.
Or when people, you've gone to the gym a lot, you've changed your body. It's like a celebration and something that we can actually help. But it also helps people that are going through self-confidence issues, self-esteem issues, because we judge ourselves sometimes, and a lot of us can cover up. We can wear black, we can wear different size clothing that's not flattering to our shape. So having someone that does this image consultancy, which I like to call self-confidence consultancy, it helps. You're going for a new job role, you want to present yourself in a certain way. And sometimes a lot of clients I have, they want to play themselves down, especially in certain roles.
Wow.
So they present themselves in a more I'm going to wear this kind of suit and it's going to be really smart and I don't want people to see me. Where sometimes it's allowing yourself to be seen, allows yourself to flower in a different way.
That's the blossoming phase. I have to share something. When I was in my 5th year of my career, I remember thinking I wanted to make it to engineering manager. And no one told me this. I decided it by myself, really oddly. Or maybe I'd picked up things somewhere. There was this charity in the US that would help young girls get into suits for interviews. And I thought to myself, that's interesting. And all the young girls, we all tried to look like men. We wore khaki pants and rolled up shirts to work. And it was like a look, right? Because we wanted to also look like we were just as tough and just as clever as the boys. And I decided that year that I was going to go and buy a skirt suit. And the skirts, they went slightly above or below my knee. They weren't indecent because I was very cautious that, look, I'm still in this profession. And a jacket. And I was so uncomfortable the first couple of times I did it. But it just became my thing. And I dressed myself into a management position. And before the year, I'd been promoted. And I don't know if I believe in that at 45 now, but I really believed it at that age. And I literally dressed myself. And people then started to visualize me as someone senior, someone in a leadership role, someone that people could come to. And when we had the end of year review and we talked about what the possibilities were, they were just open, right? It didn't seem unusual that I would want to move up, and they didn't think it unusual to want to move me up as well. So I think you're right, this thing about image, because I felt it and believed it. And at one point I thought it only. But when I embodied that and changed how I looked, not only did I feel it and believe it, everyone around me felt it and believed it, and that just suddenly seemed to manifest.
Yeah.
And so maybe we should close on manifestation. What are your thoughts around manifestation?
The way you moved into that. I love manifestation. And I think manifestation comes with also believing. So a lot of people jump into wanting to get into manifesting. But if you don't believe in yourself, or you don't believe you can achieve it, or your want and drive isn't that you can get it, like it sounded like you really wanted that job. So the action was that you wanted it, you started to dress like it, you were following steps for manifestation without maybe knowing that's what you were doing.
I also worked hard, because you can't get promoted if you don't have the results.
Because that's the action step of manifestation that sometimes people miss. They just think, okay, I can get this, I want it, I've got to desire it, I've got to think it in my mind.
Put on my vision board.
Put on my vision board. But it comes back to that grace of having to feel it. You have to feel it, you have to believe it. So I definitely think it works. It's open for everybody. Everyone can do it. So it's about believing in yourself. So again, you have to tick that box first of having self-belief.
Thank you, Aisha. So tell me, I love to ask my guests, what are the 3 most important things that you want anyone watching, listening to this podcast to take away, except for Sex and the City, and clearly you know all the characters, and I love DMX, and Life is Lifing, and everything else that we've left behind. What are the 3 things that you would like to leave people with today?
So the 3 things I'd like to leave people with that I've also love and want to keep in my life myself is creating some kind of stillness in your life. For me, it can start just being a coffee in the morning, getting up that little bit earlier if you live with a house of
Privilege.
people.
I have toddlers that wake me at 5:30.
Yeah, maybe you need to get up at 5 and go to bed a bit earlier.
Then they wake up.
But it's either having that coffee or making sure when they leave or you get to the office, you're stopping and you're having that coffee.
Right.
So it's having stillness. No matter what that means. Some people, meditation will feel well out there, whether that's taking time to read a book and just creating a space where your mind isn't thinking about something else.
Yes.
So for me, creating stillness. For me, I love breath work. Breathwork's something that most people can get on board with because it's just breathing, and we do that every day.
Well, what's breathwork?
So breathwork for me is just controlling your breath. So some people can just close their eyes and just take a nice big deep breath in and out, but it's doing that several times in a pattern. But it literally is just breathing. It's just being conscious of your breath.
Okay.
Because our breath is our best friend. It changes at every point of the day, whether you're excited, you're nervous. So just having some time with the breath, so stillness, and allowing yourself to have some grace. So for me, that's turning it back to self-love.
Wow.
So some form of self-love, because that helps in all forms of our life, whether it's confidence, it's meeting someone new, it's allowing yourself to believe you can pivot. And if you don't have that self-love, again, that manifestation can't go into play. So it's forming some kind of self-love ritual for yourself.
Wow, thank you.
So that's the first and the second. And the other one is just being able to see yourself.
What does that mean?
For me, it's knowing who you are.
Wow.
So finding different places to know who you are. And you know, when we always want, or your friend will say something to you like, I wish you saw you how I saw you. So it's not going through the day every day, putting on this coat. It's actually taking the coat off and seeing yourself at some point in the day.
You know, I love what you just said, because me and my sisters grew up so intertwined that I remember getting to some age I can't remember, I was a teenager, we'd moved to London at the time, and I would say, God gave us different talents, I'm okay with mine. Because it almost felt like there was this pressure for us to be the same. If that made any sense. No one ever said it, we didn't say it to each other, my parents didn't say it to us, but they almost felt this invisible pressure to be the same. And I would say to my younger sister, you are good at X, I'm okay that I'm not good at that at all, and I'm okay with what I'm good at. And to my older sister, and my younger sister till today reminds me, and that's what I call seeing yourself. And I teach that to my girls now. It's okay if you can't do X, but look at what else you can do, and love yourself and see that about yourself. Rather than spending time focused on the thing that you don't really enjoy, focus on what you really enjoy and see yourself, you know?
And I'm so glad you brought that up, because when it comes to comparison, which we do on social media and Instagram, people in different roles, we stop seeing ourselves.
Wow, I hadn't thought about that one.
So it's really good the way you laid that out, because we do stop seeing ourselves. And sometimes, like you said, if you see yourself and your gifts and what you're good at, you're not going to compare yourself against someone else, because we are all unique and we all do things differently.
Yes, absolutely. Aisha, thank you so much. Thank you for coming all the way from London to spend this week of Eid with me. We've had lots of time on the couch watching movies, talking, healing conversations. We've done some breath work, some meditation. Most of all, it's just been sisterhood and friendship. And I love you for that. And I really hope, thank you. And I really hope that our SeeMe members can understand that this is an important part of themselves that they need to look after if they truly want to be the best of who they can be. Thank you, Aisha.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much.